After that, the black-haired guy tripped the fleeing monster. At that moment the werewolf realized all his helplessness, and his life flashed before his eyes. The king of the White Wolves rode like Sonic through the night streets. Satisfied, Han Dae-song turned to the monster and stated that no one allowed the dog to return to his booth. At that moment, the summoned dragon opened its powerful mouth and headed straight for the armored monster. The White Wolf regretted again that he had come to this planet, but it was too late to regret. The snow-white dragon struck its crushing blow. Having trampled a small bug into the asphalt with its mighty paws, the reptile rose into the air again. Meanwhile the battered wolf was giving up its spirit. But the Lord of Hell was not going to spare the mongrel, and taking out his mighty sword, he demanded the core of the monster. At the same time, Sodankal turned around and asked if everyone had left the portal except the wounded. Looking back, the hunting party saw in front of them a deserted street littered with corpses of the military. Gritting his teeth, the squad leader cursed his leadership, because so far no one has come to the rescue from the International Association. Examining the wounded, Beck-Heron said that she would try to cure those who could still be saved, and the rest should go to the boss of the portal as soon as possible. Hearing the girl's wish, the black-haired S-class hunter was about to rush into battle, as Li Changshik's friend asked the elder to wait a little and prepare for the upcoming battle. But the red-eyed hunter did not share his friend's opinion. He would prefer not to waste time even if he had to fight naked, after which he rushed into the attack with the rest of the guys. The territory of the construction site, the evening, the place of origin of the portal. The legendary Beck-Heron stayed in this area to help the victims, when suddenly her head was visited by the 58th sign. Raising her head warily, she realized what kind of sign it was, because an angry white wolf was in front of her face. The monster rushed at the defenseless huntress, who did not even have time to activate the shield spell, when suddenly the monster's head flew past the girl, after which the severed brand flew several more blocks. In front of the helpless Beck-Heron stood her savior, and he was the magnificent Han Dae-song. The startled girl could not utter a word. She continued to sit with her mouth open. The Lord of Hell turned his gaze on the girl and asked her if she was also a hunter. However, the black-haired woman could not utter a word. She could not believe her eyes, because these monsters suppressed the top ranker Li Changshik, but this stranger coped in an instant. Suddenly the Lord of Hell was attacked by a white-haired hunter, but Han Dae-song had no difficulty dodging such a pathetic attack. Seeing the incomprehensible audacity of her comrade, Beck-Heron called out to Li Changshik, and not only she, the squad leader also acted. Hearing the voices of his comrades, the blue-eyed guy was surprised to realize that a man was standing in front of him. After this conclusion, he stopped near the guys. The top S-class hunter couldn't take his eyes off Han Dae-song. It was hard for him to believe that this stranger had so easily dodged an attack with a loaded sword. After his gross mistake, the white-haired guy hurried to apologize to the ruler of Hell. The reason he attacked Han Dae-song was that he mistook him for a monster. Hearing these words, those present were slightly surprised. At the same time, the black-haired guy decided to clarify why he decided so. In response, Li Changshik stated that only monsters they hunt in portals emit such an aura, but the hunter noticed that the stranger was stronger than all those with such an aura whom he had met. Hearing this, Han Dae-song was slightly surprised, because he did not even suspect that there was a hunter who was able to see his demonic energy. After a few brief words, the white-haired man still bothered to introduce himself properly, stating that he was the CEO of the Chasen clan, and his name was Li Changshik. The Lord of Hell uttered his great name, Han Dae-song, with a slight grin. Soon, the young heroes were gathered in the office of the chief executive. He sincerely thanked everyone present for their hard work. Sodankal hastened to notice that the chairman's gift came in handy, because thanks to him, many hunters survived. However, the blue-eyed guy did not really want to listen to this. He was more interested in how the monsters got out. In turn, Beck-Heron awkwardly asked what kind of person Han Dae-song was. She believes that there is no point in the association to cultivate a secret weapon, and the guy literally came from nowhere. She was also worried about the question of how a man who had been confined to a hospital bed for a long time became so strong in such a short period of time. Among those present at the meeting was a mysterious guy in a mask who did not utter a word. His name is Cho Hanul and he is the leader of the Marble Clan, and he also ranks 5th in the ranking. Park Chang-ho, after listening to everyone's opinion, did not think long and said that for a detailed explanation of what happened, you need to ask the kid directly. But now he has another question. Do those present agree to raise the rank of Hunter Han Dae-song to S class? Upon hearing this, the black-haired hunter in a red tie said that their opinion would decide something, because the public had already recognized him as an S-ranked hero. The girl, in turn, without hesitation voted for an increase with the hope that fewer of them would stop being used. Lee Changshik also said that even if you don't want to be here, you can still accept the promotion, because Han Dae-song single-handedly closed the A-rank portal. After listening to the guy's statement, the gray-haired old man turned to Cho Hanul and asked his opinion. At the same time the guy said that in his opinion, Han Dae-song's S rank was originally. Upon hearing this, those present were not a little surprised. At that time, there was a special stream on the Yomail channel on which a special guest appeared, namely the leader of the clan of Pickers of Squabbles, the greatest Mr. Anderson. The young streamer hastened to clarify with the mighty old man how he knew the newly minted hero Han Dae-song. At the same time the pensioner began his story with the fact that their unusual relationship began at the hunter's exam. At the same time, someone's hand was furiously clicking on a computer mouse. Going into the recommendations from the popular YouTube city, you could see how the newly minted hero beat all the ratings. Chan Ho, sitting at the monitors, was in complete shock, because all the social networks were just trumpeting his name Robert Paulson. It was enough just to add the name of the ruler of hell to the video, and the views immediately fly up to 1 million. The kid in the suit was completely shocked, because they hit the real jackpot. Suddenly, the door to his office opened and Han Dae-song appeared on the threshold. A friend was glad to greet the young superstar. Jumping up from his chair, he opened his hands and began to praise the black-haired man because he was the treasure of their clan. However, the ruler of hell was not very happy with this turn of events, and also mentioned the past words of his friend who recommended fleeing the battlefield if it became dangerous. Upon hearing this, Chang Ho was embarrassed and said in a flash that he was just worried that his friend could have been badly hurt. But however it was not so important, because Han Dae-song was the best. However, the dark-haired man was not very worried about this. He wanted to know why his old friend had called him here. At the same time, Chang Ho grinned and smilingly declared that it was time to go for an S-rank hunter's license. Soon, broadcasting began on all TV channels, because at that time the Hunters Association gathered a large number of fans and foreign reporters. The reason for this was the increased interest in Hunter Han Dae-song, who closed the gap of the portal in Gangnam. The most impressive moment was the number of his calls, which made a huge contribution to cleaning up the monsters that broke through. A red carpet and a stage were laid in front of the Hunters Association. A black Mercedes was driving on the asphalt, and soon the car stopped at the curb, and the main character of all the news got out of the transport. The carefree ruler of hell and his faithful friend Chang Ho appeared before the society. Upon seeing the young hero, a crowd of fans began to shout the name of the great hunter. They were fans of different ages and different nations. However, the ruler of hell did not like such attention. He did not expect that Chang Ho's words about his increased popularity would turn out to be true. Suddenly, a cheerful guy in a suit elbowed the black-haired man and said that it was not worth being sullen, but instead it was worth waving to his fans. The great ruler of hell resigned himself to his fate, and, letting everything go, raised his hand, and at the same moment admiring shouts began to be heard from the crowd. Someone from the crowd even begged him to marry. Soon, Park Chong-ho, on behalf of the head of the association, hurried to thank the newly minted Hunter Han Dae-song for closing the A-rank portal, because his help helped to avoid serious damage. Upon hearing this, Chang-ho stated that they were just doing their job and nothing more. However, the gray-haired old man did not want to listen to this and called his secretary. Soon, a small box opened in front of the eyes of those present, in which there was a golden badge on which the letter S was engraved. The brown-haired guy opened his mouth in surprise, because he did not expect that in this life he would be able to see with his own eyes the badge of a hunter of the highest level, which ordinary people cannot touch. At that moment, Park Chung-ho officially congratulated Han Dae-sung on becoming the 6th S-rank hunter in South Korea, as well as the license. The association will gladly provide the newly minted S-rank hunter with everything he needs within their capabilities, so do not hesitate to ask for anything. Hearing this, the black-haired man woke up and hurried to ask again, can he really ask for anything? The old man waved his head in response, giving his approval. At the same time a smirk appeared on the face of the ruler of Hell. Roman was sitting in his office at that time. He was filled with anger because all his victims had been taken away, and Han Dae-sung was to blame for this. At this time, the old man remembered the words of Cho Han-oh, who mentioned the new hero, saying that his abilities were at a completely different level and would the association be able to refuse him at least some kind of request? The chief executive took his mind off his thoughts and looked at the black-haired guy who was thinking what to ask the association, and soon opening his eyes, Han Dae-sung demanded that his appeals could raid portals independently. Upon hearing this, the man bulged his eyes, and beads of sweat stood out on his forehead. One day, one of the houses in the capital, an unknown figure was sitting in an apartment at a gaming computer and clicking the mouse. She was watching the news that was filled with a new figure, namely Han Dae-sung. Seeing this, the girl grinned, saying his name. It was the Inferno, which Ryu Son from the Fortress clan and ranked 5th in the hunter rating. The girl was sure that a chosen one appeared before her, who would surely be able to solve her problem. Getting up from the table in pink socks, the girl went for a walk around her house humming one of her favorite tunes. Soon she opened one of the doors of her house and maliciously let her father in. The man was very surprised. Jumping up from his chair, he could not believe his eyes because his beloved daughter Son had not left her room for 6 months because of her social phobia. However, the girl had a reason to do so, because she had a request, and upon hearing this, the old man asked with the same surprise. At the same time, the leader of the clan, the unshakable spirit of Ohishu, was beside himself with anger, because now that Han Dae-sung is gradually squeezing out all the portals, the rest of the hunters are only allowed to starve to death. And he was not at all outraged by this question. Many people did not like this, because Han Dae-sung does not put business etiquette in anything and monopolizes all portals for himself. After listening to this, the man had a headache, because his worst fears came true. Who would have thought that the guy would clean up all the dungeons with calls in such a short time? Ohishu continued to vent his anger, because they managed not to get into debt by selling cores and other things from portals. But now they are not even able to pay the clan members' salaries. The black-haired man was distraught that only the bastard Han Dae-sung was allowed to raid portals. It was the same as launching a catfish into a pond with small fish. Listening to all the complaints, the man did not know what actions everyone expected from him, because the permission to clean the portals was issued directly by the head of the association, and it is beyond his competence. Oh Hyuksu demanded that Han Dae-sung's rights be immediately restricted so that he could raid portals of at least B rank and allow other clans to participate in raids on A-ranked ones. All hunters in South Korea would benefit from this. After listening to such a proposal, the man in the suit said that he understood the feelings of those present, and would try to do something about it. Meanwhile, in one of the skyscrapers, a notification appeared on the screen notifying of the loss. Seeing this, the ruler of Hell gritted his teeth. He could not understand how he was defeated over and over again in this stupid game. Suddenly, the phone rang on the table. Picking up the phone, Dae-sung greeted his friend Chang-ho, but he began to yell into the phone because this was not the first attempt to reach Dae-sung, and Chang-ho did not understand why he had to constantly yell. After listening to the screams of his comrade, the black-haired man said that he did not answer the call because he was busy with a very important matter right now. In response, Chang-ho sarcastically agreed that some games were very important, and then the ruler of Hell did not even know what to say in his defense. The high-rise building in which the new clan settled was called the Dae-sung clan, and its leader was Chang-ho. The reason that the guys gathered in this office was that the association sent a request in order to adjust the portal tenders. After hearing this, the black-haired man did not immediately understand what was the matter. At the same time, the guy in the suit explained that from now on they will have the opportunity to qualify for dungeons only of rank B and higher. starting with A-rank dungeons they will have to participate together with other clans. Chang Ho noticed that with his fierce monopoly on portals due to appeals, the guy created a sea of financial problems for small and medium-sized clans. At the same time, Dae Song agreed that he already had no need to take on low-level portals, because during this time they had already earned well. The brown-haired man cautiously asked his friend, "Is he really not mad at this at all?" But Dae Song had nothing to be angry about, because he had already raked in a fucking cloud of money. In this, Chang Ho was very much in agreement, because to clean portals like other clans, they do not need a lot of people who need to be paid, so it takes a little time to clean the portal, and that's why each raid results in a maximum plus. Thanks to this they acquired this clan building. After listening to this, Han Dae Song suggested to his friend to raid the most valuable portals, and the small ones can be left to the rest. Looking at the black-haired Chan Ho noticed that the asshole also had a business vein in front of him. Suddenly, the brown-haired guy mentioned the equipment that Dae Song had given for sale earlier. The fact is that he does not think that he will sell such things to hunters, given that they cannot be charged with ether. After hearing this, the ruler of hell was disappointed. She counted on the money to buy buildings in the name of her mother and sister. But Chan Ho said that it is not worth getting upset yet, because all is not lost, because there is a professor named Park Dong-hek, who can work on this equipment so that it becomes commercially available. Upon hearing this, the ruler of hell repeated the name he had heard. Then Chan Ho hurried to tell in more detail about this great personality, because this man is an incomparable expert in the field of aura weapons, as well as a friend of the leader of the Soul Clan. However, the brown-haired one reports that it will not be possible to arrange a meeting through Hwang Yung-hyun because the leader of the Soul Clan was arrested and imprisoned, but Jang Ho already has another person in mind who may be aware of the professor's location. The emotionless Han Dae Song, after listening to a whole lecture from his friend, tried to express his surprise. Late in the evening, it was pouring rain on the street, and through the puddle that appeared on the asphalt, you could see someone's reflection, but soon it was erased. This figure was a mysterious black-haired woman who walked calmly despite the heavy downpour. There was firm confidence in her blue eyes. She was ready to do anything to return to the hunters again. After that she walked away. Meanwhile, inside the C-rank portal, a clan called Unshakable Spirit conducted its raid on this dungeon. A well-fed warrior used stun against his opponent, after which the monster grabbed his head and the hunter called his leader who was preparing to deliver the final blow. Tense, Ohashi rushed towards the ogre, and the next moment the monster was cut into the smallest details by the sharpest blades. After that, the skin meat rushed to the ground. Turning around, Hashu looked at his squad, which was already celebrating its great victory over the C-rank portal. Suddenly, the black-haired man's attention was attracted by something, namely, a detachment of unknown people was approaching behind him in the desert fog. Soon, Jong Jinchul appeared in front of the guys, who mocked the small fry who got in his way, but he was not going to let them go just like that, and the next moment ordered his guys to do it. A crowd of humanoid mutants rushed from behind the blonde guy. A wary squad of fighters did not understand what was the matter, because in front of them were not hunters but real monsters. Looking at the faces of the rushing mad monsters, the worried leader of the Unshakable Spirit clan ordered his guys to prepare for battle with fear in his voice. Thus, the desert and the hangover became an arena for carnage, but the battle did not last long. Soon, the defeated head of the Unshakable Spirit clan was touched by Jong Jinchul with 2 fingers, and the next moment he applied his transformation power, and the next moment his face began to distort. Opening his golden eyes, Jong Jinchul has already appeared in a new guise. He has become a new Ohyuksu, and now it will be even easier for him to plunge this rotten world into house. Meanwhile, an important topic was broadcast on the news. Recently cases of missing persons have become more frequent, and it was already the 12th one just this month. And the strangest thing is that 10 people disappeared at the same time. Han Dae Song's family were enthusiastically watching TV. Han Jisoo was very surprised by what she heard, because in what strange ghetto they live so that 10 people disappear at the same time. Is this really the case of aliens? However, the mother of the family did not care much, and she asked her daughter not to leave the house temporarily, after which the mother looked at her son and asked if he was hungry. turned around, Khan Jisoo was scared and accused her brother, because why sneak up so quietly? Soon the mother asked what is better to serve to the table, and the embarrassed ruler of hell wished for a lot of meat. After that he looked at the TV again and thought specifically. At the same time, a figure in a white robe approached the mysterious altar. A dozen hearts were placed in a special vessel for sacrifices, and the next moment Elder Hans began to chant a spell that meant the beginning of the ritual. Soon his clenched hands shone even brighter, and the torn hearts also lit up with light and also trembled. After that, the man in the white robe walked away from the altar and turned to his like-minded people. At the same moment the guys in red robes hurried to fall on their knees in order to greet their grandiose god. A man named Roman said that they were very lucky, because in Khans there is a person who is connected with Han Dae-sung. In this regard, the elder decided to transfer the will of the Lord to the blonde guy and ordered him to eliminate Han Dae-sung. This cultist turned out to be Jong Jinchul, who was incredibly happy about the upcoming mission, because now he will be able to accomplish his long-awaited revenge with the help of new powers.